После painful расставания Артем already почти год quietly жил один в небольшой квартире старого дома. Мужчина rarely выходил beyond работа и grocery store, preferring avoid unnecessary conversations with neighbors. Once cheerful and sociable, now he increasingly felt emotionally exhausted and convinced serious relationships only bring disappointment and painful loneliness eventually afterward. Каждый вечер Артем returned home tired after long office hours and silently spent nights reading or watching old movies. Though many neighbors politely greeted him, мужчина hardly maintained conversations. Only одна девушка from nearby apartment sometimes warmly smiled when they accidentally met near elevators or building entrance downstairs there lately. Ее звали Кристина. Bright, lively and surprisingly kind, she somehow always looked genuinely happy despite ordinary, everyday life around them. Артем secretly noticed her often helping elderly neighbors carry bags or playing with children in courtyard. But after previous heartbreak, мужчина never considered trying build any new emotional connection again with anyone nearby. Однажды поздним вечером, someone unexpectedly knocked on his apartment door. Opening it, Артем, surprised, saw nervous Christina standing there, wearing elegant dress and tightly holding small handbag. Девушка awkwardly smiled and softly admitted she urgently needs strange favor only he somehow can help with tonight at important family dinner nearby. Christina quickly explained that her parents constantly pressure her marry successful, wealthy men they personally approve. Tired of endless blind dates and family arguments, Девушка impulsively told relatives she already has boyfriend. Problem remained only one thing. Now parents unexpectedly demanded finally meet mysterious man during tonight's family dinner gathering there immediately. Артем initially almost refused from shock. Idea pretending someone's boyfriend sounded awkward and absurd, but seeing genuine panic and embarrassment in Christina's eyes, мужчина hesitated. Девушка quietly promised this would only last one evening. After several tense seconds, Артем finally sighed and reluctantly agreed, help nervous neighbor tonight, despite discomfort, completely. По дороге к restaurant, Christina continuously apologized for involving him into strange situation. Артем, meanwhile, nervously adjusted borrowed jacket and wondered how exactly ordinary quiet evening suddenly transformed into fake romantic dinner with strangers. Yet despite awkwardness, man unexpectedly noticed he already feels strangely calmer beside sincere, cheerful neighbor nearby there tonight somehow emotionally. Inside elegant restaurant, warm lights glowed softly above beautifully decorated tables. Seeing daughter arrive, Christina's wealthy parents immediately stood greeting them politely yet curiously. Артем already prepared uncomfortable formal conversation. But before he could even properly introduce himself, Девушка suddenly, warmly smiled and confidently announced, «Это мой парень, познакомьтесь there proudly tonight». Those simple words unexpectedly hit Артем harder than expected. For several seconds, man literally forgot how breathe normally, while parents enthusiastically shook his hand. Meanwhile, Christina calmly held his arm, as if fake relationship already looked completely natural. Watching her confident smile, Артем suddenly realized situation becoming emotionally far more complicated than imagined initially. Dinner, surprisingly, went much smoother than expected. Christina's parents warmly asked about Artyom's work, hobbies, and childhood memories. Unlike arrogant, wealthy families from movies, they genuinely listened with interest. Gradually, мужчина relaxed and even began sincerely laughing during conversations, forgetting for moments entire evening started from awkward fake story there together tonight. At one point, Christina's mother unexpectedly smiled watching them and softly admitted, daughter never looked this happy beside previous wealthy admirers. Hearing those words, both Артем and Christina awkwardly exchanged glances. Something between them suddenly felt dangerously real, despite entire relationship technically remaining only temporary harmless performance for family dinner gathering there tonight, unexpectedly. Позже вечером, while walking home through quiet, glowing streets, Artyom quietly asked neighbor why she specifically chose him for such strange role. Christina hesitated few seconds, then softly confessed she always felt surprisingly safe and calm around with him. Hearing this, lonely man suddenly realized maybe tonight changed much more than simple awkward dinner forever. После awkward семейного ужина Артем долго не мог понять, почему simple вечер unexpectedly оставил such strong emotions inside him. Walking beside smiling Christina through quiet night streets, мужчина repeatedly reminded himself the relationship only temporary harmless performance. Yet every warm glance from neighbor strangely made lonely heart beat noticeably faster than before tonight there. Christina, meanwhile, quietly looked surprisingly nervous despite successful dinner. Usually cheerful and confident, now Devishka constantly adjusted hair and awkwardly avoided eye contact. Finally, she softly admitted parents rarely approve anyone beside her. Seeing them genuinely happy tonight unexpectedly meant much more emotionally than she originally planned when knocking his apartment door earlier there. На следующий день Artyom sincerely expected everything immediately return normal. But early morning he unexpectedly found homemade breakfast package outside apartment door, together with small note saying, "Thanks for saving yesterday." Reading simple message, Mужчина suddenly smiled, first genuine smile he experienced after painful breakup months ago there quietly alone inside apartment. Постепенно, strange fake relationship somehow continued naturally beyond family dinner. Sometimes, Christina invited Artyom drink coffee together before work. Sometimes they accidentally spent evenings walking through nearby park discussing movies, childhood memories, and future dreams. Surprisingly, conversations never felt awkward. Instead, both increasingly enjoyed calm warmth, growing quietly between them lately together. Однажды Christina unexpectedly confessed she secretly feared Artyom would disappear after dinner and return emotionally distant again. Hearing this, Mужчина honestly admitted he initially planned exactly that. But somewhere during evening beside her family, he suddenly realized how deeply lonely his life actually became after painful separation from former girlfriend years earlier, emotionally inside lately. Meanwhile, Christina's parents increasingly invited Artyom to family gatherings, completely believing relationship genuine. At first, situation still felt strange. But gradually man unexpectedly began enjoying warm atmosphere surrounding their home. Unlike cold silence inside his apartment, there always existed laughter, ordinary conversations, and feeling someone sincerely waits for his arrival every evening there. One rainy evening, electricity unexpectedly disappeared throughout neighborhood building. Unable to stay alone inside dark apartment with painful thoughts, Artyom quietly knocked on Christina's door. Devishka warmly invited him inside, and together they spent hours drinking tea by candlelight, while storm loudly raged outside windows around them there peacefully through night together, talking honestly. During that evening conversation unexpectedly became deeply personal. Christina quietly admitted she often pretended cheerful because secretly feared ending life completely alone despite surrounding people. Artyom, meanwhile, honestly spoke about betrayal, emotional exhaustion, and how difficult trusting anyone became after painful breakup. Somehow darkness and candlelight made honesty feel strangely easier between them there tonight, emotionally. Listening carefully, Christina softly touched his hand and quietly confessed something shocking. Woman admitted fake relationship initially truly began as desperate, harmless idea. But after spending time together, she increasingly hoped situation might somehow become real someday. Saying these words aloud visibly frightened her more than anything, before emotionally there tonight, beside candlelight quietly. For several silent seconds, Artyom simply looked into her nervous eyes, trying to understand emotions suddenly overwhelming him. Then Mужчина unexpectedly realized he no longer viewed Christina merely as cheerful neighbor needing temporary favor. Somewhere between awkward dinner, night walks, and honest conversations, lonely woman quietly became most important person inside his peaceful new life lately. Without dramatic speeches, Artyom gently held her hand tighter and softly admitted he also no longer wants pretend. Hearing this, Christina unexpectedly laughed through emotional tears before quietly hugging him beside warm candlelight. Outside, storm still loudly shook windows, but inside, small apartment, both suddenly felt calm happiness, neither expected find so unexpectedly together there tonight. Months later, neighbors often smilingly watched Artyom and Christina returning home together, carrying groceries, or laughing beside courtyard benches. What started from awkward Семейный Ужин and fake introduction unexpectedly transformed into genuine, loving relationship. And every time someone jokingly asked how they met, Christina warmly smiled, saying, "Honestly, it all began with one malenkaya, harmless lodge."